physically feel like Kobe, I'm like Jokic with the rock. You physically couldn't hold me, I don't care if you push it 40. You can never little bro me. Euro step like Ginobili, from young OG to the OG. From nosebleeds to floor seats, circle stronger than Cuban links. My gold dance, your gold plated. You verse me, now that's a reach. We ready, who ready?
Hey, what's going on, people? This is Shawnee. I appreciate y'all. This is a one-on-one sports show. We may be having some people may be off the show today. They have some other stuff going on today, and some people will be coming in whenever they get the time to. So it'll just be me for the time being, just to open up, and then I believe Dante should be joining us soon. So, but appreciate y'all for joining us. Again, it's a one-on-one sports show that's on the Black Man Unfiltered Network. So we appreciate all the support that y'all been giving us over the months and at least a year of us doing this show. So once again, we just appreciate all the support. So let's just kick things off. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, I always joke around, I always say you want to piss people off, create a list. So one of the lists that came out that ESPN showed earlier this week was the top 10 quarterback list that was on behalf of NFL executives, coaches, and scouts. So this is basically the front office of NFL respective teams. And keep in mind, this is just basically a power ranking list of quarterbacks where they believe going into the next year. I know a lot of time when people bring up these ranking lists, they have a tendency to rank these quarterbacks or just rank players in general has pretty much on a career base. And that's kind of hard to do. So we just doing this, the top 10 quarterbacks believed by the NFL execs, coaches, and scouts going into the 2025 season. So basically how they left from 2024 into 2025. So I'm gonna start from the bottom. So number 10 is Tampa Bay QB Baker Mayfield, which I really have no problem with. I believe Baker Mayfield is highly underrated. He went to Tampa Bay and just kind of renewed his NFL career down there. Number 9, Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl winner. It's kind of low. In particular, another name I won't mind seeing him swap, but we'll get to that. Number 8, Jared Goff. Number 7, Justin Herbert. Number 6, Matthew Stafford. 5 is Jaden Daniels. 4, Lamar Jackson. 3, Joe Burrow. 2, Josh Allen. And of course, number 1 is Patrick Mahomes. So those are the top 10 quarterbacks that, again, was based on, just random NFL execs, coaches, and scouts. And maybe at the top 5 of this list, I don't have an issue with, but I know, splitting straws between, in particular, like I know Josh Allen is the recent NFL MVP coming off of last season. But what's up, Coach? But do I believe,
Oh, bro.
would I still put Josh Allen over Lamar Jackson? I mean, I don't know. I think they can go tit for tat. But Lamar, as of now, he does by far has way more weapons than Josh Allen. But I believe it's just quarterbacks, I think they just go tit for tat. Like I said, I guess Josh Allen just gets the nod going into 2025 season because he's the recent MVP winner. So I give him that nod. I don't believe Lamar Jackson should be number 4. He should be number 3. Joe Burrow is a hell of a quarterback. I mean, he had a Super Bowl appearance. That's more to say than many of the other quarterbacks on this list. But he still, I know because I mentioned before I went through the list that we can't look at this as far as a career in totality. You got to look at it from season to season, and it's hard to, when you think of Lamar Jackson, it's hard to not mention his two MVPs, and he very well could have won a third last year. I mean, him and Josh Allen was going back and forth. But I can see why they put Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow and that offense was lethal. They just didn't have a defense at all. You know, I think out of the top 5 quarterbacks, I believe Lamar Jackson has the best team around him. Jaden Daniels almost up there, but Lamar Jackson by far has the best team around him. Not like he needed, because they finished number 1 in rushing in 2023, but you give that team Derrick Henry with that quarterback, and then you also upgraded his receiving weapons. He definitely has a killer squad. It just baffles me how he can perform so well in the regular season. I don't know what goes on, but you don't see his regular season success translate to the postseason. It's
But
weird.
Sonny, okay, so I see we're talking about quarterback rankings, right? So
On this ESPN executive list.
I'm sure you got Patrick Mahomes number 1. I guess they try to.
Mahomes 1, Josh Allen 2, Joe Burrow 3, Lamar Jackson, and then Jaden Daniels to finish at the top 5.
This is a crazy list because what has Joe Burrow? He, outside of Patrick Mahomes, is the only one that's went to the Super Bowl, but he's injury prone. He's a Tom Brady style quarterback, so they better make sure they protect him. That's one. So I give him. He went to the Super Bowl. Josh Allen ain't did nothing more than Lamar. What they come back? They come in the same year, or Josh Allen came a year later. So they both in the same boat for real.
Yeah, I think they both came in 2018. Yeah.
Both of those guys in the same boat. Lamar, remember, Lamar wasn't even projected to be a good quarterback. He wasn't even projected. They wanted to play receiver, and here he is being a rusher. Baltimore's led the league as a team rusher in the last since he's been in the league. Now, you are right. He has some of the best. He has the best overall squad. However, most of those players have been in the league 6-8 years or more. It's very few young players on that team that's making a name for themselves. I see them. You know, I would give Lamar 3 over Josh Allen. Josh Allen's been to what? He's been to playoffs, but he won 1 game, 2 games. It's the same as Lamar's right there.
He won
1 or 2. That's it.
I think he won about 3 or 4. I know he made the AFC Championship game twice, so that's at least 2 wins right there each season.
Yeah, but it's the same as Lamar. Lamar's 2-time MVP, could be 4. He can be 4, but I would give them 3A, 3B. I would put them both side by side just because of their statue. But Jaden Daniels, he just leapfrogged everybody, didn't he? He just leapfrogged everybody.
Before I get to Daniels, I mentioned, because that's the thing, when I mentioned before going over the list, this is basically a power ranking going into the season. And we have to remember when a power ranking is, in this case, it's just the top quarterbacks coming out of 2024 into 2025. I know it's hard to, when we go over lists like this, in particular the quarterback position more than anything, we have a tendency of combining everything they did in their career. So we got to kind of I was pushing all of that aside. Okay, then how did you end 2024 season? Okay, then I can what can we project 2025 season? Now with Burrow, he did finish number 1 in passing yard and number 1 in touchdown. So that's what they're looking at. Like that offense with the Bengals last year was I don't want to say it was unstoppable, but they was putting up hella numbers. But it was like they had a defense that would literally, if they put up 40, the defense would give up 40. That's how bad their defense was last year. So a lot of times it's just unfortunately Burrow didn't have a defense, or he had an okay running game. He had an okay running game. He didn't have no Derrick Henry or even running back for the Bills, James Cook, who I believe they should have used a little bit more. Now, getting to Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels had a good rookie season, but the way they talk and are continue to still talking about Daniels is exactly how they were talking about C.J. Stroud last offseason. And to me, I was like, okay, he has, NFL tape is real. Like, them defensive coordinators, that's all they do. You may have the best of them coming into the, rookie season. You had a good rookie season. But they can get in that film room. They can start, making some adjustments to really exploit your weaknesses. Now, in case of C.J. Stroud, I mean, he had a weakness where his offensive line you saw what the Texans did. They basically just got rid of the whole entire line. They actually traded Laremy Tunsil to the Commanders. And he was their biggest piece, but they basically revamped that whole offensive line because Stroud was just getting sacks after sack. And then, of course, he was losing his receivers. So that played a part on why Stroud numbers, especially his interceptions, went up last year. Even though he still went to the playoffs, he had a playoff victory. And so, I look at him like they put the young quarterbacks on such a pedestal after year one. And then even what I just mentioned about Stroud, you still, because they put him so high after last offseason, after he struggled, they saying basically he was a one-hit wonder. He hit that second year, that wall, that sophomore jinx. So they're saying all these things to slight Stroud because they put him on such a pedestal. Now with Daniels, I'm like, okay, you took your team to the NFC Championship. That was very high for a rookie. Now, if he has anything less that he produces in 2025, those same people, because a lot of times it's the media, they be putting them up there somewhat because they're so impressed by their first season. And then the same ones, if they struggle any type of way in year two, and you see with Stroud, Stroud was left off the top 10 list.
Yeah. Off the top 10, that's crazy.
And he was, I believe, they had the Texans. There was some, believe it or not, there was some analysts out there that had Texas potentially knocking on the AFC Championship window coming into this season, last season. So that's how high they was thinking about Stroud.
Yeah, but they had injuries, man. I know you're a little partial to your Texans and everything.
No, I'm saying that wasn't me. That was saying that was the analyst that was here.
Yeah, no, I get it. The media, Texans ran into too many injuries, and I think they made a mistake when they let the tackle go. I think they knew they made a mistake, but then they had injuries. So when you just like Joe Burrow, he had injuries. So when you lose top receivers, then that sort of going to change your whole game. I think they're going to be okay coming into this year. Who do they get as a running back?
They actually got Nick Chubb. So now
Joe Mixon. If he stays healthy, then I think they'll be okay. The Texans, they're gonna be tough. Whoever they play, it's gonna be a hard win for them, man. But top 10, I say he right at 10 just because of last year.
Well, I don't know if you heard me when I mentioned I know we went through 1 through 5. 6 through 10 is number 6, Matthew Stafford. 7 is Justin Herbert. I'm gonna get to him. 8 is Jared Goff.
Yeah.
9 is Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
10 is Baker Mayfield.
No, Baker Mayfield got to go.
I thought Baker Mayfield, but
I mentioned, but he got to go.
I mentioned he's very underrated. Now he has, and I don't like when people always say, "Oh, he has a receivers." I mean, that's most. You want more you want your quarterbacks to have receivers. I remember when Lamar Jackson, his early years, people kept lamenting over the Ravens that they wasn't giving him top tier receivers. So even he needed receivers. So, you know, Baker Mayfield, he had good receivers. He had Mike Evans, who I believe is very underrated for whatever reason. All the do is just produce his numbers, and people still just don't give him the credit. I was talking to somebody, they don't believe the dude is a Hall of Famer. I'm like, okay, yeah, you tripping. But he had, you know, and he had some other good receivers on the squad. Running game is okay, but Baker Mayfield, he had like his, you know, everybody think of Cleveland Mayfield, or even when he went to the Panthers, and you know, but going to Tampa, it really resurrected his career. That's why he was a Pro Bowl. I think he got the contract extension when he got with the Bucs. So, but the one I get to is Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts. Herbert is 7, Hurts is 9.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with Jalen Hurts, I do agree that there was some point during this last season that they rode the Saquon Barkley wave. Saquon Barkley led them to a lot of victories and ultimately to the Super Bowl.
That's what it's supposed to be.
And so, because I believe in, because you remember the 2023 season, remember the Eagles started off hot and then they started losing games, just losing games. That was the main reason why how the Cowboys was able to get the number 2 seed, because they just started free falling, and then they got destroyed.
What was their record? What was their record before? 12-5? 12
in 2023.
Yeah, I think they won 11 games or something.
Yeah, because they was on. I think they started off like
they was like 8-1, 9-1, something.
Yeah,
they lost 4 of their last 5 or 6,
and then just got destroyed by they ended up 11-6.
Yeah, see, that ain't bad. That ain't bad.
It's not bad, but the way they did, I think they ended up losing like 5 or 6 in a row. Yeah, they started 10-1. Yeah, they started 10-1, and then just lost 5 in a row, closed out the season, and then got destroyed by the Buccaneers, 32-9 in the wild card playoff. So people,
I think it was the coach though. I think a lot of that was the coach. He was immature.
Hurts and Sirianni, you could tell there was like some dissension between the two.
Yeah, that was the coach though. He was immature. I think the Eagles did the best thing, and more teams are going to do that this year. They're going to rely on the run game again. They see what it can do.
That's why I was happy that really Saquon and Henry got. Cause you remember, we spoke about it. I believe last season how the
contracts and stuff.
Yeah, running backs being undervalued. Well, both of them, especially Henry, because he got a nice contract for a running back over 30.
31.
That was unheard of, you know. So, but with Justin Herbert, because Justin Herbert lost last year at playoff.
Man,
he lost to the Texans.
Yep.
And I remember the biggest knock on Herbert was when he lost to the Jaguars after they had like a 28-0 lead, I believe, coming out the first half, and then it literally just collapsed in the second half.
He shouldn't even be on the list.
Yeah, it's just folks. He's talented. I mean, as far as physically, he's physically gifted. Everybody when they talk about Herbert, they always just go straight to his physical gifts.
That's all they know he got. That's all they know he got. But again, let's be honest, man. The media sometimes be a little biased. They want those guys to be up there. Herbert, he has that California golden boy look. He's out there in San Diego. But top 10, I would put him under Dak Prescott for sure. Who else? I don't know. Everybody else has remained to be seen.
I would have put Hurts over him.
Of course, Hurts is over him. Yeah, of course.
But I think Saquon's season last year was the main reason why Hurts, because he handed the ball off to him a lot. So I guess that played a part in.
What he averaged about 24 runs, 20. That's what a running back's supposed to average. You're supposed to average at least 28. I would say between 21 and 30 runs, and that's between both running backs. That's how you're supposed to balance it out. And you see when they balanced it out, those two receivers, was able to do their thing. And they're going to do the same formula. Saquon probably get another 1,500 yards, and Jalen Hurts probably throw for about 4,000, 3,000 yards.
What did he finish with last year?
He's going to still score running touchdowns. He's going to have about 15 of them. So.
Oh, yeah, because now that they tried to get that.
They came in the touch push. They came in.
That thing here to stay now.
Yeah, it's gonna be. He gonna get 15 rushing. He gonna get 25 passing. Saquon go probably lead the league again because Philadelphia ain't really did nothing. They just made everybody get in good shape. And hopefully the quarterback, he's matured. I don't even know who they got in the draft.
Jalen Hurts finished under 3,000 yards passing.
Yeah, see, that's it. That's a winning formula.
And he only, let me see what touched. Well, he has 18 passing touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean, rushing about 14, 12. See, that's 30 all right there. Yeah.
Let me see.
I like that formula.
Yeah, it's a 50-50. It's a 50-50 formula for him. But I guess when they looking at, okay, now when you just looking at per quarterbacks, they were like, we'll just give the nod to this quarterback as far as pure quarterback. Because like Josh Allen, he does the same thing, but he doesn't have the weapons that Hurts has. He had, I can't see it. He has. Yeah, he had 14 rushing touchdowns. So 18 passing, 14. So it's that total of 32.
Yeah, that's all right. It ain't bad.
So, but that was the main reason why, I guess, why he had him at number 9 on the list.
Yeah.
And then I was surprised at Jared Goff because I thought at times the Lions offense, which I believe them losing Ben Johnson to the Bears, I think that's going to be huge for them. I think it's going to be huge. As a Texans fan, we know exactly the importance of an offensive coordinator, and that's my whole thing when it comes to when I hear people give their opinions about certain quarterbacks or just, especially in football, about how much, I think more than anything, the impact of a coach, whether it's a head coach, your coordinators. If you don't have a capable coordinator for a quarterback, you're not going to do anything. You're just not going to do anything. And especially, again, I go to my Cowboys. The biggest thing about with McCarthy, they thought he was, even though how he got the job with Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, he was trying to say, I upgraded my coaching style and whatnot. And then at times, it just looked like he just could not make any adjustments after halftime, or his style started going back a little bit archaic, no motion in the offense. And everybody now see, like, if you watch the Lions, how they look like the Lions, the Chiefs, and how the Rams did back in early Sean McVay. How they just always have people move. That pre-snap movement is huge now in the NFL. It's just huge now because now the coach who's really starting to create his own coaching tree is Sean McVay. A lot of people, I believe Ben Johnson at one time was on his staff. I think I want to make sure that, but they do have some similarities. If he was or if he wasn't, they pre-snap movement. You won't, cause confusion. You want the ball to get out the quarterback's hands quick. Like I say, I do believe the running game is coming back into play, so coach is going to start using their running backs more. But you still just want an offense that the defense cannot easily predict. And I believe now that the Lions, them losing Johnson, I forgot who they named. They lost Johnson and their defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, Dan Campbell got his work cut out for him next year. I mean, they was a good team last year, but I mean, you lose those two coordinators, I think they're gonna feel it. They gonna
I'm
play.
excited about the Jets. I'm
Because of
interested to
Glenn.
see him and the acquisitions that they have. I'm excited about the Jets.
Well, the Jets just recently gave their receiver
Sauce, not Sauce, but what's his
Garrett
name?
Wilson.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson. Well, they gave him a nice little check too.
Yeah, because let me see. They gave him agreed to a 4-year, $130 million contract extension.
It's good.
And my thing is because people just gonna have to admit that Justin Fields, everybody's like they have high hopes for him, but for the most part now we've seen who Justin Fields is as a
Now you
quarterback.
have Johnny. Now you have.
Well, as far as
You have
if you're a receiver, you're gonna have to do some blocking. You're not gonna be a prolific. You're not gonna be have prolific numbers as a receiver. I believe you're gonna do blocking. There's gonna be times where Fields is gonna do a lot more running. So NFL receivers they trying to put up some productive numbers so they can get negotiation for their contracts as well. They get paid as well. And you're not going to say for you go play for a quarterback like a Matt Stafford or even a Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. Because they put the ball in the air a lot. You're going to have an opportunity to get your numbers up. With Justin Fields, we've seen him at multiple stops. That's just not who he is, and they're gonna limit his. He's not gonna throw no 30 times a game on average. He's just the guy. He's gonna run the ball. Pass is gonna be short. He's just gonna kind of be like a game manager as far as just don't make mistakes. And with Garrett Wilson, he's a young receiver who believes he's on the level as these other elite receivers in the NFL. He thought he had a quarterback with Rodgers, but then that whole thing fell down a hole. But he just wants to be on a chance to put up the numbers so he can get his potential big deal. But the Jets went ahead and gave him that deal because I believe that there's going to be times where he may be a little frustrated with Fields just because he may just not, he's an elite receiver. He believes he can make plays if just given the ball, and it's going to be interesting to see his numbers compared to, I guess, last season because that was the only full year that Aaron Rodgers had. Well, at the end of next year, I'm gonna see Garrett Wilson's numbers compared to this year compared to last season. So, but I'm glad he got his money. He's gonna have Fields for at least 2 seasons, so we'll just see how he go. Looking at the comments now, Trey mentioned if Fields was the guy, he would have been the guy in Chicago and Pittsburgh. He's not the guy. I mean, he has tape on him now, So what I can see right now with Fields, he's going to depend when all else fails. He's going to depend on his legs more. So I mean, he's not a bad quarterback, but if you're just a receiver who wants to get your numbers up as well, he may not be the quarterback for you. It's no different than who was another quarterback. I can't remember. It's been several quarterbacks like this in the past that they've known they're great athletes, but just they're not prolific passers. So, receivers ultimately once they finish that year, they contract with that particular team, they generally go to a team where they have a more prolific quarterback so they can get their numbers up as well. Lou Medic, appreciate Trey and Lou Medic for joining us on the show today. Lou Medic mentioned Aaron about to give Tomlin his first and last lose of the season. I don't know. I didn't like, and I believe I was mentioning this to Mr. Bennett when a couple of weeks ago, especially after the draft. I did not like the way that the Steelers went through the whole draft because I believe like, okay, if you're gonna make the move to get Aaron Rodgers, you could have got Aaron Rodgers, but I believe they needed a quarterback, and I believe they could have used a first or second round pick for a quarterback. Shador Sanders obviously was a name at the time, but they needed a quarterback. And if it was Sanders, he could have just sat behind Rodgers. Okay, that would have been no problem. Let him learn something, and then officially give him the keys next year. But the fact that they waited so long to pick up a quarterback and ultimately forgot his name, who they ultimately did, but it was a quarterback that's viewed predominantly lower on the draft, the QB ranks and whatnot coming into the draft. And yeah, I didn't like the way they went about that. Will Howard, I believe they could. I believe next year they're gonna be looking for another QB yet again in the draft when they could have had one of the top two coming into the draft was Sanders. They could have just had him just sit him down for a year. Now I don't think they're just gonna unless they just fold next season, they probably going to finish. Well, I will say 8-8, but they play one more game. I'll say 8-9, or maybe 9-8, and you basically is going to be right back in the middle again of the draft. From what I've been hearing, they mentioned that next year's draft may be deeper than this past draft that we have. Maybe they can find another quarterback then, but I looked at it, man. You had a chance to get one of the top two coming into the draft, but you didn't. And you put all your eggs in Aaron Rodgers' basket, who I know he was playing better as the season went on last year with the Jets. His numbers were slightly increasing, but yeah, they basically just let Aaron Rodgers hold them hostage. So let's go. So those, as we was going through the top 10, those were the top 10 again, starting from the bottom: Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert at number 7, Matthew Stafford 6, Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow number 3, Josh Allen number 2, and Patrick Mahomes at number 1. So those are according to NFL execs, coaches, and scouts, those are the top 10 quarterbacks going into the 2025 season. So as we switch topics, let me pull up my notes real quick. So as we, once again, I guess we have a story with RG3 and Angel Reese, of all people. Like I don't know. Well, I know RG3 has his own podcast and stuff going on, so I guess Angel Reese is a highly talked about topic on this show. And I believe that there has been recently, because I know in the past, like not too far past, RG3 and former NFL player, not ESPN analyst, Ryan Clark, they had a back and forth over Angel Reese because Clark felt that RG3 was, because the whole thing was going when Angel Reese got upset at a hard foul done by Caitlin Clark in the first game I believe they played this season, and RG3 was trying to paint the picture that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. There's no according, I guess, to RG3 according to his sources or whatnot. Angel Reese never said such a thing, but to me, I always thought it was just too competitive. After looking at the play, one of the Sky players, I believe, fouled Aaliyah Boston very hard. So Clark, gave him a receipt back, just a little push. No, Reese. I believe Reese fouled the player hard for the Fever or Aaliyah Boston, and then Clark just gave her a receipt, and Reese didn't like that. To me, but that's just basketball. That's just basketball. So during that video, as RG3 was trying to paint the narrative that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark, his wife was sitting in the background, and she was basically just, you know, chipping in as far as an agreement, whatnot, for her husband. So Ryan Clark, he responded to RG3's opinions, and then he mentioned about his wife and whatnot, mainly because she, you know, was a white woman, and they, you know, some fallout happened. You know, it got the attention of a lot of social media at that time. Well, apparently, RG3 wanted to speak about Angel Reese again recently, and this time it got the attention of Shaq, and I believe that RG3, I've been trying to find a picture, but he, for the tweet that was shown, it was a picture of Angel Reese, and I believe that she was on the court, like, looked like she was making a drive to the basket. But instead of Angel Reese in the picture, it was a monkey. And I believe RG3 was highlighting the fact that, I believe about the racism stuff. I forgot exactly what he said, but basically Shaq, he saw that and he didn't like it. You know, he didn't like RG3 tweeting out the monkey post about Angel Reese, just forwarded that tweet, and he wanted, you know, basically stop talking about Angel Reese, especially in a negative fashion. On the next time you see him, he's gonna punch him in his face. So Zach threatened. So I remember after the first run in between RG3 and Ryan Clark on the pivot, Shaq was one of the people they interviewed, like directly after that whole incident or whatever. I won't say incident, but that whole confrontation. And he mentioned on the interview that he agreed with Ryan Clark. You know, he said Ryan Clark did not mention anything wrong, so, you know, he was 100% in agreement with Ryan Clark. So he already felt some type of way about RG3. And apparently he's very protective over Angel Reese, maybe because they LSU, you know, brother and sister, you know. But because RG3 wanted to tweet out this picture, and it's like it wasn't really coming from RG3. He was just forwarding, basically somebody put this out on the internet. And since he comes from RG3, Shaq didn't like it and basically just went on and threatened to punch that dude in the face next time you see it. He's getting tired of RG3 having Angel Reese's name in his mouth. So there's some more social media drama, social media and podcasts. I mean, it seems like RG3, from what I've heard, I never had any issues with RG3. I know, you know, goes back to the old Rob Parker statement several years ago when he called RG3 a cornball brother. I mean, RG3 is him. I never had any issues with RG3. He's himself. Does he view stuff from a different lens? At times, it seems maybe different from many, from how it looks like. A lot of his views at times comes from a different standpoint than what many may agree within the black community. That's just how, from the outside, it looks like from when I hear people who have an issue with RG3. That's like generally like the stance they typically come from or they have when it comes to RG3. Like I say, me personally, I never had any issues with RG3. It's just, and I see Lou, he's saying the most awkward, socially awkward media personality ever. He may be, you know. I mean, I'm pretty sure some others out there, but whatever RG3 did, cause I think many times I don't think he's just intentional. He's not intentionally trying to, you know, downgrade or bash anybody. But
Yes,
it
he
seems
is.
that what's up, Dante? It just seems like
He's frozen.
he does not have the ear of the black community. I know many of us say the black community, we're not a big monolith or whatnot. We have different personalities, of course. It just seems like a lot of the black community. Now he's not on the Jason Whitlock level. I won't say that he's not on the Jason Whitlock level, but he's just somebody who just can't get right when it comes to the black community as far as his
I mean,
opinions over some matters.
but
So
listen. I think he like her. I think he got a thing for her. And Becky, his wife, she ain't having it. And it's I think where he puts a bad light on himself is that the things he does in front of his wife. And we've seen it with Kanye because he said slavery was a choice, but he was with Kim. That's what they do. But criticizing Angel Reese doesn't get you anywhere. Even in, outside of, the YouTube and, social media, your job is always going to be a jeopardy when you approach it that way. I think he should only focus on sports, but not just Angel Reese. He's mentioned her a couple of times. Move off of her, criticize some football players, critique football, critique the sport that you played in. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, doing it in front of your wife. I don't know. That just, to me, it just shows a little poor taste. But,
did you see? Because it was an NBA 2K6 picture, and did you see the tweet that RG3? What's up, Mr. Bennett?
Hey, what's
Tweet
good,
that
guys?
RG3, I guess, shared. Like I say, it wasn't like he was in agreement. He was trying to, I guess, call himself speak out on it, on the racism and whatnot. But it's basically a picture of 2K NBA 2K26. Like I say, it's Angel Reese. It looked like she's making her move towards the basket, like driving towards the basket. But instead of looking at Reese handling the basketball, head towards the basket, she was replaced by a monkey. So that's a picture he shared. And Shaq
man, come
obviously,
on.
Shaq is not a big fan of RG3, especially since the beginning of his whole speaking about Angel Reese. So Shaq just said, man, stop, basically just keep Angel Reese name out your mouth. Next time you see it, he's gonna punch you in the effing mouth or in the face. So Shaq he's just not a big RG3 fan. Like I say, I personally I never had any beef with RG3 as far as, I mean, he never did anything for me personally for me to beef over him about. But I never had any issues with his opinions. But he, you know, he just, for whatever reason, the dude he cannot, I guess from what I see, many in the black community, they just not fans of him, man. I was like going back to the old Rob Parker, calling him a cornball, and I guess many in the black community feel that way about RG3. I said I don't feel like the dude is a cornball. I mean, but he's himself. So I always appreciate people who are just themselves. But
I
yeah,
don't know if he's himself, though. Because
like
the
I said,
way
I don't know the dude personally to say this dude is this way. But to me, his personality has been consistent ever since he was at Baylor. So I mean, it is for him.
just keep it strictly sports. I think, when he start getting into social life outside of, what his lane is, I think it's going to always get some pushback.
Well, that's what I was mentioning. I guess that was his podcast. A lot of time now, with a lot of these ex-players start their podcast, they want to go. They want to show that they have a broad spectrum what they could talk to. It's just not just only the respective sport that they play. So, what's up, Mr. Bennett? What's up, Dante?
What's going on, guys?
What's going
Over here,
on?
I'm on in a remote site. I'm going to be traveling the next 3 weeks. I'm going to be on the road. So this is kind of new to me. I haven't done business travel in a number of years, but we got this project, and I guess I need to lend support to it. So yeah, so it's lots of restaurants, lots of eateries, I'm trying to keep a good diet. In fact, tomorrow night I'm going to be in a show with Coach. We're supposed to be talking about some diet stuff. So I'm trying to be good tonight. I stuck to my salmon and broccoli tonight instead of I could have went for something different, but I said, let me get the salmon tonight. So on the road, so I said I'll hop on, as soon as I can get on. But we're working a lot of hours here, and just trying to get reach the finish line by the end of the month. So it's just a grind, but I'll try to be up here as much as I can. But glad to see you guys holding it down.
Take care of your business, man, for sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Of course.
What's up, Dante?
Man, what's going on, man? I came in on the right time. Like when you mentioned about RG3 and sharing it, like let's get it out the way. It's nothing wrong. Like Rob Parker was right, but in a way that RG3 is a broadcaster. So like the corny broadcasting and the lines that you use, like, oh, he's doing this and he's going, and that's a part of broadcasting, and that fits with his personality. So he's fine with that. I have no problem with him as a broadcaster. He can be corny, whatever. You can have corny guys, cool guys. Everybody can't be cool. But the Angel Reese thing has to stop. Like because I want to say I was looking at it, and I saw it by accident. I saw somebody talking about it, but I didn't retweet that post because I didn't want that post to get any traction. That's how Twitter works, or X. I don't know nobody calls it X, but
I just call it Twitter.
It's Twitter. It's been Twitter for like forever. So but you did, and the guy that tweeted it has like 1,000 followers. So RG3, I know I don't follow him anymore, but I know you got at least a couple 100,000 followers. Why are you amplifying that by retweeting it and bringing it more air? You could have made that long post without doing that, and then people at their discretion could have went and found it, viewed it, and then just left it alone. Because a viewer might help it, but a retweet definitely does with an RG3. And I bet you the crowd that likes that type of stuff, that negative ascension about black people, they're gonna, especially black women, they're gonna go and eat that up and find him in the message board somewhere. So I felt like RG3, like you made a mistake there. You made a mistake the whole time, like going in what you were saying, because everything he said in the argument has been kind of proven like that just wasn't it. And I know he has his own podcast and he got a big moment from that. But this wasn't to be honest, this was the time to come to her defense on your pod and get some goodwill back. But you destroyed the goodwill back by retweeting the photo. And it's like some people don't get it. And he's got to learn, like Coach Spurs said, you don't need to speak on those matters. He doesn't have, and especially you don't have enough of a base or a position where you can really speak for the black community. And I know, like, the people at Fox may not see that or whatever network, but they're like, you're a black man, you can speak for him, but like you grew up as a military brat. But yeah, I see it. It's a dragon toy. But yeah, it's just like he doesn't have that, and he has to know I don't have that in me. And I know he feels like, hey, that's not your lane. Speaking on that in your lane, I would say Ryan Clark of the world, those people say, I'll say Stephen A doesn't even do a good job of speaking on it. He's looked bad multiple times, but he's Stephen A, so he gets more grace. He's QB1 in his position and over at ESPN, so he gets those chances. But it's just I appreciate Shaq being firm and people being firm, like, hey, we're not taking it. Not only is Angel killing it on the court because we've criticized her. I know a couple of shows ago we criticized her and she has been playing fantastic, but she can't escape the negative crap, and she's the cover athlete. And that just absolutely sucks for her. And now it's dragging on. So I'm hoping we can get to the All-Star game, get past this for her, and hopefully RG3 will just, hey, college football will be here in like 30, 40 days, but let's, stick to that.
Mr. Bennett, you got any thoughts about the whole RG3 and Shaq and Angel Reese?
Honestly, I've been on lockdown. I haven't heard a whole lot, but I know obviously RG3 has been certainly making some statements as of late, which he's always had to kind of go back and explain. And so my thing is, if you're going to make the statements, then stand on what you said instead of trying to do a retraction or what have you. But it's just the whole, the last couple of years with Angel Reese, we were talking about how you had the black organizations voting for her as athlete of the year over very more deserving black female athletes, a lot of them certainly in the WNBA. There's always this talk about her image, her body image that she has. So it's just like it's almost like she's constantly in the news for one reason or another for the wrong reasons, either things that she'll say or people just want to have her in conversations for whatever reason. Now, from what I'm just hearing from this guy Snacks, like I said, I didn't hear. So RG3 posted a video. Someone made a video of her dressed as a monkey, and he retweeted it or he posted it himself.
It was the NBA 2K26 cover.
Yeah, she's on
and
the
I believe,
which is again, I mean that to me is a lot of side because again, there's more deserving athletes. I'm sorry, I mean I just think that it's almost like in professional wrestling where they try to push a guy too hard or whatever, and then the fans just kind of reject it because the very fact you're trying to push him. So again, it's the same thing. I mean, that's problematic.
She is one of the
2K cover.
She is one of the notable players of the league. Like I say, because I think right now, especially now, it's NBA 2K, but within the game, I don't play the game, but within the game, they do.
You have the WNBA.
So I don't know the past cover, WNBA players who cover, but as of now, she is one of the notable names. So I don't have a problem with her being on the cover, but it's just basically it's one of the covers, and like I mentioned, it's a picture where you can see she's making a move to the basket, and instead of somebody just put a monkey in her place instead of her, so it's like it's a monkey making a move to the basket.
Right.
So then RG3 just basically retweeted it, shared that picture. And like I said, I don't think because I don't have X, so I don't have it, but I believe he was basically shining a light on the racism. Like he wasn't a fan of it, but he forwarded it. And for whatever reason, like I mentioned, Shaq, he's not a big RG3 fan, especially when he was going back and forth with Ryan Clark when they got into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Shaq saw that, it basically just came off like, man, just keep Angel Reese name out your mouth. And that's that LSU connection between the two. And that's when he, next time I see him, I'll punch you in the face. But so that's basically RG3. I don't think he said anything negative, about Reese. It's just it basically just sounds like Shaq just tired of RG3.
It's just
he's just tired of him, man.
Yeah.
Me personally, like I say, I don't have an issue. I never had an issue with RG3, but it just seems like no matter what this dude does, from what I see, because I'm part of a sports group in Facebook, and it's like a lot of them tends to agree with the Rob Parker, believing he's a cornball. I mean, every time this dude do anything, he's a cornball, he's corny and whatnot. I'm like, well, damn, this dude, he can't live. I don't know if maybe it's because he seems to primarily date, ultimately marry white women. I don't know, but just going from what I've heard from other people, it seems like he just can't get right. They just, no matter what he do, they just not a fan of the dude. It's always something about him they just not a fan of him. Yeah. Even here in Texas, and he's,
Well, it's almost like him. What's the guy Ocho from Speak? He's put himself in some.
Acho,
you brought up that mask. If you want to get into it, we can.
Yeah, hold on real quick. So to give the WNBA a little bit of cover here, Candace Parker was a previous cover athlete. Sabrina Ionescu, Asia Wilson, and I think Sue Bird. So they've had some of their legends be there in position. And I do know this, when they roll it out, when you use a player, especially the WNBA, it's like you burned it, you used it. And I think that they're probably kind of ponying up more money to get who to be on the cover. And so I think they're kind of waiting. Like I know Napisha Collier, she's probably in line to be a cover. but I guess it depends on who your marketing people are, who you're pushing. So it's not the worst thing that she's there, but I want to say I would probably say you could probably get somebody from the champion team or another all-star, but you burn a lot of different people, and then they'll start rotating again soon. So
Yeah.
So, Mr. Bennett, what?
Yeah, so it seems like Fox is kind of doing another house cleaning. So we all knew about Joy Taylor and that incident that happened a few months ago, where I guess a lawsuit was filed and she was implicated in the lawsuit, basically claiming that she basically slept her way to the top, so to speak. That she also had an affair with Emmanuel Acho. So now it's like Acho, his show Speak is they're unloading that. I'm not sure what the future plan is for Fox Sports, what kind of supporting platforms. We all know Skip Bayless certainly was let go as a part of some of that lawsuit from back in the day as well. So it seems like I don't know where Fox goes. And really, I mean, just in terms of a lot of these sports programs, I know you got First Take. I guess they still kind of maintain the number one spot despite the changes there. Shannon Sharp came on, and obviously we all know what that happened with that situation. But it just seems like I think a more general question I have is one, what do you think Fox goes with future shows? Are they going to try to do something more like Around the Horn that ESPN has since they canceled that show, or what do you think just the state of just these sports debate shows, certainly on these TV platforms? It's like everyone's just kind of shooting, trying to find the right formula, but very few shows are really successful in the space. We saw how ESPN cut back on it, and now Fox is doing the same thing. So what do you think is the future of some of these sport debate shows going forward? And I don't know, maybe we're the next ones. We'll take over where Fox and all those guys left off. We'll be the new voice and the new face of sports debate television. But what are your guys' thoughts on, again, the moves at Fox, and then what are your thoughts on just the overall landscape of sports debate content? Has it kind of run its course? So where do we go with that? So whoever wants to kick that off.
Well, I was just looking at it. So the three shows that was canceled was Speak. That's the one Joy Taylor's on. Then you got Breakfast Ball and A Facility. And A Facility is the one that had multiple former NFL players on that one. I believe Acho was on The Facility as well. But shows they decided to keep was The Herd and First Things First. And some of the stuff that I read, since the story broke, was that Fox is looking to basically kind of go in a different direction with the material they put out there. And some of the names that rumored they may be looking at, they all seem to be like more experienced. Because one thing about those three shows, especially two of them, it was real former player heavy. For whatever reason, I guess Keyshawn, he had his own radio show at ESPN. They let him go. Then he got a TV show at Fox and let him go for whatever. I thought he was somebody who was very wanted in the media space. But basically, some of the names that I heard was Tony Reali, the former Around the Horn host, Max Kellerman, and Kay Adams, who currently has her own show or whatnot, Up and Adams. All three of them are experienced in the sports broadcasting world. It kind of reminded me of when ESPN Radio started, when they went through their layoffs and then they started revamping their lineups on their radio station. They started focusing more on putting more experienced radio figures on their shows. And so it's kind of looking like Fox Sports maybe kind of going down that same pathway with their TV shows. They just want a change of, which I don't blame. Sometimes a change is needed.
Yeah,
go in this direction.
Yeah, it's perfect timing. Listen, YouTube is taking over too. Like Mr. Bennett said, hey, if we get that call, damn it, I'm going. I don't know about y'all. I'm going. Y'all
I can get off the road then. Yeah.
Hey, if I get that Pat McAfee call, we going. I don't care. And listen,
call he got.
But that's the opportunity. They see that, it really is sort of becoming, I guess, it's too many fish in the pond. It's too many. People are taking, like you see Stephen A. He goes from ESPN to his own. And ESPN, the big people are seeing that. They probably get better commentary from shows like this on YouTube than the sports world. But people who went to school for that, they'll more than likely get those positions on TV. But still, they're going to tap into the revenue of social media too. And, hey, like I said, we get a call. Listen, ESPN, we don't need no Stephen A. money. We don't need that. Just give us 2.5 hours, 2 days a week. We'll be all right.
Heard that.
Yeah, it's just a different time, man. Salute, man. I mean, sometimes, man, people get into sports commentary and they don't understand sports. Then they bring it too much social, emotional stuff into it, and that sort of it doesn't fare for a good conversation, good show. But yeah, people that can talk about the sports and have open commentary and not about the feelings of a player or a team, then I think those shows are far better. If you can get a few guests on, hey, you'll be all right.
One thing I do notice, though, many of these people who get in these shows, they are, like Stephen A. was if you know anything about the journalists were in sports reporting, like there was the reporter who basically just report exactly what they see, like a team beat writer. They just report exactly what they see on that happens. They can't provide their own opinions when they put some on the paper. Columnists are allowed to have opinions. So like Michael Wilbon, before I think he still do columnist work, but they are allowed to do opinions on various topics. Journalists, I believe, is similar. So Stephen A. went through that whole gambit, whatnot, before he got his show. And a lot of them, it seems like many of them are either they were journalists or they went up, like, I don't know if y'all are familiar with Sportsmanlike on ESPN, Evan Cohen. He's like the bus driver, per se, for that show. And he spent years in sports radio. So he knows just the ins and outs of sports radio. And they still have Chris Canty on there, a former player. And then they mix it up with Smalls, as I guess to finish out their three. But yeah, I'm noticing that a lot of them they want more experience as far as journalism and just the time they spent in the radio the radio world, sports radio world. So go ahead, Dante.
Yeah, well, I saw what Trey said in the comments. Like, yeah, if they're going under the Barstool is dominating the sports. They got a good stronghold on in a good fan base, so that could work. But it's like, is it going to be too much like McAfee? But the other thing I'll say is, to be honest, they are having to pivot what they do, because if you look at for radio stations to obviously the big networks, someone has a YouTube channel, somebody's on YouTube, Patreon. They have to go into attack those mediums, because there's a lot of people that are getting their sports information that way. So it's just like, you have to change what you're doing. What I say is, to be honest, I would say that it's too former player driven, because the guys that were journalists, there's some that are columnists, and now they're with the everything from the Ringer to the Athletic, and so they're moving around. Like, one of the guys I follow, he's on YouTube now. He left his columnist job and went over to the YouTube side, because there's different mediums now, and ESPN and Fox are trying to deal with that. But I would like to see more of the columnists and the journalists there. Mix the journalists with the former athlete, so you can have it balanced. Because I'll never forget the embarrassment when Shannon Sharp was like calling Julio Jones live on the set, and it was just like, whoa, there's some rules there that you gotta get that screen. If you're gonna do an interview, you gotta do it a certain way. And like, sometimes the lines get blurred, and that's why we got and we're so much sports debate heavy, and that kind of messed things up. So I think I'm hoping they can kind of reset some. Like I said, if Kay Adams was interested, that would be somebody that's credible, that does good interviews, that is able to get interviews with players. So that's something that would help it. But I just want more of a balance than the the talking head, just rah rah. Like the guy McIntyre, his takes are absolutely terrible. And I'm usually the one to give people some grace. Like I give Colin grace because he has spot on hits and things, and he has some solid sources. But I mean, Fox is forever. I think they should just do something totally different because trying to catch up to ESPN, that's not really the mantle. Because I know I watch it less just because there's some of their content is just the big teams, one that we shall not name, because we know our audience has mentioned that. So it's kind of like, hey, focus on like the true stories and get good insight and not just hot takes. So that's if they can do that, I'll gladly support it.
Awesome. All right, guys. Let's move on. So I want to talk a little baseball. I know you had the announcement, the sale of the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, the owner, I believe, when he bought the Rays, I think he bought them for like $200 million. I think at the time, so he just sold them for $1.7 billion, which is obviously a profit. No question about it. But it seemed like the Rays have always been a problem in terms of, attracting fan base down there and seeing what people have been willing to pay for these professional sports franchises as of late. It definitely seems like it's a low bid to sell the team. And so I don't know what the future is for Tampa. But I'm just thinking, is there a city that if whoever the new owner is, if they're actually considering trying to move the team elsewhere, what do you guys think would be a city that would be willing to take on a baseball team and that can manage a fan base? Because it just seems like they've had success in recent past, getting to the World Series, getting to the playoffs, but it just seemed like that's just never been a mark of the stadium. That has always been rated one of the worst stadiums to have a baseball team in. So again, your thoughts on the Rays? What do you think they may be able to go in the future if they do decide to move? What do you see as a possible destination, a U.S. city for a major league baseball team? So who wants to take that?
I got it.
Well, you go ahead.
I'll go ahead. Oh, the first one that comes to mind, and I know the Atlanta Braves wouldn't like it, but as a city is trendy, Nashville. Nashville is a team that has been a city that's been looked at, that's tried to position themselves to want a team. And it's one of those deals where it's like, hey, the Braves, you have your main core base. They're going to cut in on it. I think that would be something that would take some negotiation and some things that the Braves might want because that's in their market share. But you just take someone that, the owner that purchased it, does he see value in that market? I don't know much about him, but to be honest, I know it was a low figure for the Rays. But honestly, as much as they don't sell, I guess it's worth it. I saw it might have been a little bit, I would say, just about right, just by evaluations, because the owners that they've had just haven't been interested in winning. They've been interested in doing just enough and basically paying at the bare minimum that they have to for the floor, and then making a small profit. I would like to see someone that actually cares about baseball and wanting to have a team that wins, because basically when you put that money into that team, it's if you listen like the Mark Cubans of the world, you're gonna lose money. It's about how much of the hobby are you caring about and how much do you want to pour into it. So I hope a team like a Nashville, I know another team, was it Portland, that got some support, but I think that might be, I don't know, travel wise, that might be kind of rough. I mean, I don't know how they think it, but I think somewhere like Nashville or somewhere else that's in the easy travel hub would probably be the best bet.
I actually thought the city that you brought up was a good idea, Nashville, because I was thinking
metro area, 2 million or just a little over 2 million, almost 2.1 million people in the metro Nashville.
Yeah, and I was like, if they're gonna keep it in Florida, Orlando, but Nashville would have been a good one. The reason why they struggle so much as far as attendance, because you mentioned, Mr. Ben, like, they're not a bad baseball team. They win. Now they haven't won no titles, but they do produce winning seasons. They had deep playoff runs. They just, unfortunately, they lose against the better teams that a lot of times ultimately do go on to win the titles. But the main reason is because it's their location of the stadium.
Yep.
And from what they say, like, I believe it's a bridge from Tampa, what's that, to St. Petersburg?
St. Petersburg, yep.
Yes. And it's basically one way. It's extremely limited. So on the big games or just games over there, it's traffic is a nightmare. Traffic is a nightmare going to and from that stadium because a lot of people on the Tampa side where they live at, and they, are really on the St. One of the two. They on the one of the side that the stadium is not on, and it's as hell for them to get to the stadium. So I thought they was in the plans of looking at building them a new stadium though.
They were, but
I think they was planning on building a new stadium, but they're gonna put it around the same spot. So it kind of defeats the purpose. If you're gonna build a stadium, you got to move. It's the location that the locals are not fans of. It's hard for them to get to the game. So that's the main reason because you always see this team is a plus 500 team and look like they can barely have 10,000 people in their stadium. Like, what's going on? They're not doing with the Oakland A's. I remember Tommy spoke about the situation with them several months ago. They actually producing some winning baseball, but they just seem they can't get a consistent following from their fan base. So that's the primary reason. But 1.4 billion, obviously it's a lot of money, but I guess that shows how I guess spoiled we got now in the sports world because we seeing teams what the Lakers went for. I know it's a baseball team, but Lakers just went for $10 billion.
Yeah.
We thinking okay, Rays. I probably could have at least got 3. But I guess whatever profit to me it looks like a move. Maybe I think that potentially the owner was probably losing money because there's a lack of fans support or whatnot. So they're like, hey man, I'm gonna sell this thing, make a profit, and whoever it's your problem. Now them moving the team to a new city, they got to go through the whole MLB approval and whatnot. But I believe Nashville just that because I don't think they have a baseball team in that region.
Well, who do they typically follow in that area? Like, is it
the Braves?
The Braves.
They follow the Braves. The Braves are heavy there because they're not too far away. So I know that when I heard it a few years ago that they weren't happy about it. But I know that the people of the city of Nashville obviously is pushing for it, put your city on the forefront. I know they already have the Titans. So it's something that, hey, if you can get 2 professional teams and it's kind of like a mid-tier market, that would help boost them. They already have tourism, because I know it's, I heard it's like a lot of, and then they got the music scene, but it's a popular place for like women to go for like their bachelorettes, like party and stuff. I've heard like that's a popular hub for that. And like I know it looked really good when they hosted the draft. That looked really cool. When they had it outside. Nice. That looked pretty good. That was a big selling point for them.
Yeah. But you would think that just baseball in general in Florida would be bigger, just given the diversity, like because the Florida Marlins, quite frankly, aren't doing that well financially down there. But you have a large Latino base down there, how crazy they are about baseball, but it just seems like Florida Marlins got a couple World Series championships and still they just don't seem to well now it's the Miami Marlins now, but it just seems like baseball in general is almost underperforming down in that area, and it's not like it's a ton of sports down that you're competing with. I know you got the state has a couple pro football teams. But it just seems like just in general, Florida just doesn't seem to embrace baseball like in these other markets. I'm still trying to figure out why, just given the demographics of the state. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Miami just because they have a lot of stuff going on over there. So if you're not winning, you saw how they was, how they were at the Heat games. They was notorious during that Heat stretch where they was coming in like towards the end of the first quarter. So
they left during Game 6. They left during that.
They always gonna be remembered for that. They come banging on the door for re-entry. Nah, y'all outside now. Y'all gotta live with it now.
Yeah, for real.
But they just have a lot of stuff going on up there. So with the Marlins, who's a team that I believe he still has ownership in, Derek Jeter.
Yeah.
They just you not winning.
And it's not. It doesn't help the way they've treated that team with the Marlins, where it's just like, hey, we win, and then we don't want to pay in the tax, so we tear it down and sell all the players off. And you've done that multiple times. So like the fan base is like, hey, as soon as I get my next Aaron Judge, you're gonna trade him. You're gonna trade him to the Yankees.
Yeah.
You understand? So that's hard to build that.
That's
Say
that
what?
revenue sharing. That's that
I
revenue
got
sharing.
Florida
too.
wrong, man. Who goes to Florida to go to baseball? You go to the attractions. You go to the beach. And that's the problem.
Yeah, but the locals, though,
locals.
that's what you got to build on the locals.
But the locals are not excited as the people coming from out of town. The locals, they like, I'll get to a game whenever. They're going to be here. It's like, they going to the beach. They going to do Florida stuff. We like going out to go to a Florida's game. Yeah, I don't think they'll move. I think they're going to be right there because baseball has a communal revenue. Everybody revenue sharing. So they're going to go keep it down there because Florida, you can play baseball year round. They use it as training. They use it as foreign players come and train and people play. That's part of that dynamic. But
Yeah.
I don't think baseball. I don't think selling it for what 1.7 billion. Yeah, but yeah, whoever.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I
think it's definitely I think he got a fair price, but just the Florida market in general just doesn't seem to be. And like I said, I figured with that Cuban community down there, I thought they would be.
Yeah, I was about to
revenues
mention
for
that
baseball.
because they have a huge Cuban community, and baseball is huge with those Caribbean, Latino countries down just south of us. So they have a big Cuban community. So it's going. You got to do some explaining to do. You're gonna take away their baseball team down there.
Yeah, I heard that. Speaking of just staying with the baseball. So again, last night you had the All-Star game, and they had an interesting ending, which I'm already loving already.
Mm-hmm.
If any of you guys
swing off,
even if you're into baseball, nobody wants to see a 12, 13, 14 inning game, not in the playoffs or anything else. So at the end of the game, they had a home run swing off. So you get to the 9, you line up. Now, apparently, from what I understand, the players were selected before the game. So it wasn't like, the guy's got the hot hand. Yeah, he's going to lead off in the 9th and get it done. But I love this format. I wouldn't mind if baseball just takes this on, tied in the bottom of the 9th. You go bring up your 3 hitters, and you have a home run derby to end the game. Whoever wins, just like they do in hockey with the playoffs and whatnot. I love it. I think, people already complained the baseball games. I know they've done a lot over the last few years to shorten the games. They got a pitch clock and whatnot. But baseball's problem is, again, it's already boring as it is, and the games are too long. So what ways can we speed up the game? But again, who wants to stay for a 15-inning baseball game? So why not have a cut? Fine, if you want to even go to 10 innings, 10 innings is tops, and then you have this home run derby at the end. I think it's a great idea, and I'm already loving it. So again, what are your thoughts? Should MLB adopt this going forward as a practice? I thought it was pretty exciting last night, and I'd like to see more of it. What say you guys? Start with Dante, and we'll work it around.
Now I say no, just because I like the rule we already got. If you start with what do they call it, the ghost runner, where whoever got the last out, he's on second base already. And my thing is, from a baseball perspective, my guy, if you can't hit it, if you can't get him over by getting a sacrifice and get a sacrifice hit and moving him over to third, and then somebody else get him in. Like, come on, like it's already because it drives me crazy that you start the guy on second base. So I can see your point for doing it, but I don't mind the point because it's like the overtime. I mean, the extra inning games are a lot faster now. Because I'll watch it and I'll be like, all right, we got a guy on, boom, we got a double, or then you look up, you get 2 guys on, home run. Hey man, that team probably not gonna score 3 runs that next inning. So I'm cool with that. I don't really much so need the swing off because I get that from the home run derby itself already, which I do love.
I'm talking about for the regular season. I'm talking about
regular season. Regular season. I like the rule as it already is. I like the guy on second. I don't need the swing off in the regular season.
All right, Coach, what are your thoughts?
I'm with Dante 100% on that. I think that the way the game ended last night, I think that's something that is great for the All-Star game. It shows the talent of the players and each game is going to be about 3 hours anyway. So you go look at a 3 hour time span. But yeah, I think that was cool how they did it. I was surprised because I looked at the score. I think it was in the 4th or 5th. They were down by like 5 runs. Then all of a sudden,
they came out.
I was looking up. Everybody was getting hot. I kept seeing home run after home run. I said, "This is a real All-Star game. Probably one of the best in the years that people got to see." You know, but yeah, I like the rule as it is. Keep it like that. I know you non-baseball players always know, man. That baseball is the game. It's the game. I wish more blacks play baseball. Be an easy couple of $1 million. Easy.
But me, I don't mind the current rule, regular season rule, starting man on second. Now that don't exist in the playoffs. It's traditional baseball rules on the playoffs. But as for the All-Star game, I love the idea that they had because if you know most All-Star, one I gotta give MLB credit because the players actually showed up and played. They was trying to play the game. I know, unfortunately, I guess I can understand it in football, but in the other two big U.S. sports, football and basketball, we talk about how basically, you know, in football definitely All-Star weekend, Pro Bowl just needs to be taken away, but now they just make it into like a little carnival. NBA, it was almost on his deathbed because even though it's the most popular event, the dunk contest is losing steam. But they recently, I don't know if it's official. I think it's official now, but they recently came out with they're trying to go this USA World format. So we're gonna see how that works out. Hockey, well, they didn't really have a traditional All-Star games because remember they had the four country tournament, which was a huge success for them during their All-Star time. So that was huge for them. But with baseball, yeah, the teams they came out and they played ball. I mean, so I like the effort that they was pulling in. And normally, you know, with the managers and the managers on both sides, they have to really manage the pitchers. So you look at a baseball's pitching box score, a lot of them only pitch like one inning. You know, he just goes and they go on one inning and so on. So by the time I believe yesterday, it just, you know, and they finished the game in a tie, they had really no more pitchers left. So it saved the pitcher's arm. So you're gonna go to a swing off where you like Mr. Ben already mentioned, you get 3 players from each team that's predetermined already before the game. And I don't know if it was before the game or it was right after the 9th inning, but basically they choose 3 players and they only get 3 swings apiece. So you're not trying to have the players swing their arm off, whatnot. You saving your pitchers so they don't have to pitch no more extra innings. So for that, it worked, you know. And you saw the players; they was really into it, you know. So it worked, and then everybody goes both to their respective teams. The managers are happy because their players are safe now. They're not getting overexposed on an exhibition game. Because I don't think they play for the whole home field advantage anymore. It's an exhibition game, 100%. Mm-hmm. So I like the extra wrinkle they did. I heard Chris Russo from First Take this morning. He was complaining because he was like, "Well, we just saw a home run derby contest. What was that the evening before, and then basically the closeout yesterday was another home run derby contest, but." You know, I liked it. It gave a good spark. Kind of remind me at the time when the basketball, when they went to that right after Kobe passed, and they had that format that you saw the players really go after it. But apparently that wasn't the name of Kobe for that particular All-Star game. I guess they forgot about Kobe at the future games and they went back to the old ways. So.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, let's move over to the NFL. We've got about a half hour left in the show. So a couple topics I want to talk about before we get, I guess, into our main topic tonight. First and foremost, Ndamukong Suh, who's a Super Bowl champion with, I believe, Tampa Bay, calls it quits for a career. I believe his stats. I believe he's a 3-time All-Pro. If I understand, certainly him in that Detroit front four was very dominant front four in the time. So again, your thoughts on Suh's career? Do you think he is a future Hall of Famer? Like start there, and then we'll get into our main topic tonight. So Shawnee, I know you are having appreciation for line play. So what's your thoughts on Ndamukong Suh? And you know, will we see him in a gold jacket, if not on first ballot, in the future? Very controversial player, known for being a bit of a dirty player. If this was the 70s, with Mean Joe Green and the Raiders and all that, different story. But in this era, you know, certainly known for some of his dirty play, but certainly very intimidating guy. I remember when he came out of college, he was clearly, I think, was he drafted number 1? I think when he came out, I think he was drafted number 1 at the time. So again, you know, I would say a very good player, but I'm still debating whether or not whether he get into the halls. I thought I'd raise the question here. So Shawnee, what are your thoughts on Suh? Hall of Fame worthy career or not, just overall?
Just to answer the question, Hall of Fame, yes, I believe he's Hall of Fame. I just go over his numbers real quick. He's defensive rookie of the year. He's a 3-time first team All-Pro, 2-time second team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowl, and he is the 2010s All-Decade team. And to me, if you make an All-Decade team, then you So yeah, he was a dominant inside force on that. He was just strong. He could stop the run. He could get to the quarterback. He wasn't an Aaron Donald per se as far as getting to the quarterback, but he was able to get to the quarterback. And yeah, he's a Hall of Famer in my book. Did he rub some people the wrong way at times on the field? Yes, but it was all on the field because you didn't hear any negative thing in him off the field. And that's what a lot of players, you know, they have this nasty streak with them, whatnot. It's basically they literally hit a switch.
Yeah, he was definitely one of the more Jekyll Hyde players that I've ever seen. You know, some guys, you know, they just have that attitude all the time. But I never saw a guy. Yeah.
You need it for that particular sport. You need to be Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, it's good that you can turn it off because some people they go to hide and can't seem to stop. So, but I believe he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, he definitely had. He definitely was a force. I believe he went on and won his Super Bowl.
Yeah, with Tampa.
Yeah. So he definitely was a force. You know, I think he may can still. How old is he?
35.
Oh.
No, I'm sorry, 38. You're right, 38.
Yeah, I'm about to say he may can still play a little bit, but he's 38. I don't know. It may be pushing.
He got one more year.
Yeah, he may have no more year, but he'll be looking like a 38-year-old.
Yeah, I hear you. Coach, what are your thoughts? Hall of Fame?
I think he gets in the Hall of Fame, but I don't think he's the first ballot just because of he's going to be judged because of his controversial plays at times. They're going to hold that against him when it comes to the voting. His stats clearly will show that he's one of the top players of his time at that position. It shows it, but yeah, I think, you know, by him winning a Super Bowl, that's a guaranteed lock. You know, even though he wasn't, I guess he was one of the focal points of the defense, but I don't think he gets in on the first ballot. And this is just a weak class. I don't know who's going to be in on that next class. I don't know who retired, who just retired. Derek Carr, he ain't going to make it, but he might be in with that class, and might get in on the first try. But I say second try, I think he'll get in. But
yeah, I got you. Dante, your thoughts on Suh?
Okay. So I looked it up. I forgot he was a part of that 2010 class. I know he was dominant because he played Texas and he almost won that Big 12 title game by himself. He was so dominant. At first I was thinking he was just gonna miss out because I thought he was gonna get compared to like a Donald, but I'm with that rule. If you make your all-decade team, you're the best in that era. That means you are 1 or 2 in that era. So all-decade teams splits my boat. Because I thought with the 71 sacks, but then he was more of a run stopper. He could get the pressure. So if you are strong against the run, 3-time first team All Pro, 2 second, so 5 total, and then like you said, all decade. That's enough to get it. He might not get the second. He might I would say I say maybe within 3 years, 4 years he might. It's just like you said, Coach Ferg. It depends on the balance who's getting in there. Because I think that 2010 class wasn't the strongest. Because I want to say Sam Bradford was the number 1 pick, and he just obviously his career went. But he was. My thing is, I come from that era still. I don't mind my defensive and offensive linemen being there a little bit dirty, a little bit of the gray area. I don't mind it. You're playing a physical position. I need all the tenacity possible. So I don't mind it.
Stomping on people though.
Kicking, stomping. Hey,
hitting in the jewels. I thought that was an unwritten rule. You don't hit it. You don't stomp.
You don't do those. And I'm consistent. When Draymond did it, I like my guys like that. Even though you crossed the line, I'm still going to support you because I want that. I want that serious competitor. You just got to reel it back some. And sometimes his coaches had a problem reeling him back. And he has such a great talent, so you give a little bit more leeway to players like that. But I would say all decade certainly. It's just that you would, in today's time you probably can't play like that. Just like who was the linebacker that hurt Pac-Man Jones? Those guys, they got them out of the league because they were trying to change them. Vontaze Burfict. They got those guys out of the league.
I think he permanently concussed. Antonio Brown was never the same player.
He's never the same.
I have a question. Okay, when is his first year eligibility?
He's retired now. I would say he hasn't been active since 2022 though.
No,
so
but
he'll be in 2028. So
I think it's 3 years.
It's 6 years.
I thought it was 5. I thought it was 5 years. So okay, so it's 6. Okay, so he gonna make it. He gonna make it in that class. He gonna make it.
Yeah, I would have to give it to him too. I mean, his first 7 years from 2010 to 2016, I thought he was like the most dominant. I mean, always in the news. Like I said, unfortunately, that team never went anywhere. But that same team they had the Rams. They had Megatron. I thought they had a lot around. They just couldn't put, like Detroit for the longest time. They've had talent. They've had talented teams. Those teams that had Barry Sanders, but they could never win. And so it was good for him to kind of get out of there and get into a more winning environment. But for the first 7 years, to me, he's almost like Sterling Sharp. Sterling Sharp, you look at his 7-year body of work, he was like the best in the game, with the most intimidating DT in the game until Donald, started to rise at defensive tackle. So yeah, I would have to give it to him too. But again, I had never seen like that sort of Jekyll and Hyde kind of personality. I remember people just think there's something wrong with him. Like for him to be that vicious on the field, but then it's this mild mannered off. They would think he's bipolar. If he had something was going on with him, but you can't debate. I mean, he was as a rookie, he was a Pro Bowler. I mean, that doesn't happen very often, especially at that position.
At the interior, it does not. Yeah. It normally takes those guys. Parcells used to have. He's got a lot of great isms. He used to say it takes an interior guy like 3 years to get used to the game. You could be strong, but you got to be grown man strong. It takes guys some time.
Yeah, he was grown man strong.
Yeah, Stu came in out the gate. That was a problem.
Uh
oh.
Well, speaking of stuff, I think I remember a play. I think it was Sue that it was a running back who was a small running back who was trying to run by him, and he just reached out that one arm. Was it running back or quarterback? I forget. Just one arm, and just.
And that's why they call it the National Football League. The best of the best will show up, and he was one of probably the most fierce linemen during that time. He would hit everybody on the line.
Yeah,
he did have some controversial play, but the fact that it's just looking at his career, he sort of faded like towards the end, but I think he's done enough. He might not get in the first ballot just because of those. Yeah. Issues on the field. Now, see, he wasn't off the field, he was on the field. He gonna get in though.
Yeah. But see, that's how I measure. Like me, I don't mind a sort of splash career. I'm not a guy like you can be a compiler And yeah, you just be in the league for 15 years, and at the end of it, yeah, you can have 120 sacks and you can have whatever. But I may never look at you as like the most dominant player at that position. I got to be able to see you for a stretch of time. Like when I think of, okay, who are the best in the game, I got to look at you. And that's why guys like Eli Manning, I don't care if he's got 2 Super Bowls. In my view, my humble opinion, he's not a Hall of Famer. But he'll get in because he's got those 2 Super Bowls and the passing yards and whatnot. But I never looked at in any season Eli in. I don't even think I ever looked at him as a top 5 quarterback. But Sue, there was a stretch of time. Same thing with Terrell Davis. I mean, when he was at his max, at his peak, he was like the best in the game. And we had an opportunity. Gale Sayers had way before any of our times. For the time he was there, you watch that old NFL film footage. He was the NFL. He was before Juice. He was before all those guys. So my thing is, as long as and I'm local. Yes, I have a thing. I think the Mannings are overrated. I really do. I think Peyton 14-13 playoff record. I'm not giving him credit for that last Super Bowl win. So again, I think he's overrated. I think his dad, really didn't do much in New Orleans. That was a terrible team that he played on. And now they're talking about Arch Manning being a potential first-round draft pick when he's only played 1 game. I mean, can I see the kid for a season before we want to anoint him as at near the top of the 2026 class? So it's just not Eli I'm hating on. It's the Manning mystique that I'm hating on. Because I think in too many times, in too many cases, I've seen Peyton Manning choke in the big moment. Certainly got blown out in the Super Bowl against Seattle. So what's the question here? It says, what team beat Peyton in the Super Bowl? Anybody? He lost twice. He lost certainly to the to Seattle, and he lost to New Orleans. So yeah. Who that going to beat? That team New Orleans that year. So again, and he threw a pick 6, the critical pick 6 that ultimately lost him the game. So again, I'm not all in on Peyton Manning. Yes, he's a Hall of Famer and all that kind of stuff. You just wanted me to acknowledge that, of course. But I'm just saying I've never been in on the Mannings, But obviously they're gonna get in because it's just they're compiling. But again, show me a guy, be like, yep, he's that dude for that time. Terrell Davis, when he was there, 2,000-yard rusher. Yep, he was the man at that time. Give me that over a guy who just over a 10, 15-year career. Yeah, you compile a lot of stats. I'm not sold on that. I mean, that's just that's always been my theory.
How do you feel about Frank Gore? Because I feel that's how I feel about Frank Gore.
In my view, not a Hall of Fame. Look, he's got the yards, he's got the stats to get in, but he's not a Hall of Famer. When has Frank Gore ever been? When you talked about the best running backs in the game, at any time he was in, Frank Gore was at the top of your top 3 of the list, let alone at the top of the list. Never. So that's my thing. Also, I just think that I think a lot of these Hall of Fames, whether it be basketball, football, baseball, again, it's becoming more and more the Hall of the very good. But I don't care if you played 5 years. If in that 5 years you dominated, I think that is Hall of Fame worthy. Versus a guy who played 10, 15. That's just always been my view on it. It's NFL Films making videos of you, Were you on the cover of 2K or whatever it is for the right reasons because you were the best in the game, not because you were a media personality? That to me is what the Hall of Fame should be about. Highlighting the best of the best. You see them, you can't wait to turn it on because you know they're going to do something special that day. And for me, that's kind of weird. Kyle Korver will never be a Hall of Famer. Regardless of the number, I think he's like in the top 5, like all-time 3-point makers of all time, something like that. Kyle Korver.
Percentage, I believe.
Yeah, but he's not a Hall of Famer.
That's just the guy with a nice stat line with a nice statistical fact, like Steve Kerr. He has a high 3-point percentage, but no one looks at him as a Hall of Famer. So
y'all know y'all don't look at my Geiger Hall of Fame. I've been a 7-time champion.
Julian Edelman. They were like,
Bro,
oh,
who's
man,
that? Hey, who is this now? Oh. How many All-Star games? How many All-Star appearances? How many whatever? Yes, he
hey, you got 7 rings, man. Y'all don't put anything all the
yeah, man, I hate that one. I hate to have to tear him down. I know you said it's just, but don't that makes me. I'm ending the conversation if you bring that guy's name up. I'm so sorry. That's 7 points a game.
All right, now this is really interesting. Now let's deal with this one, right? Bo Jackson. Now, what's your thoughts? Again, too long? I think maybe a little short. I would say you got to give me. I say you got to give me 5. Give me 5 years where again you were the best in the game. I think he didn't. If he give me another year or two, I'd be sliding him up in there. I would.
I'm trying to look at Bo's.
The guy had some of them home type
4 seasons.
He would have made.
He played 4 seasons, 87 to 90. That's it. 2,782 yards. I can't give you that. Ryan is tripping. Ryan Leaf is a Hall of Fame.
Ryan Leaf over getting out the reporter.
I can't give him that. But Bo, look, I love Bo. Bo knows, again, for that snapshot, yeah, he was the face of the NFL. Bo knows. We all remember that. We all remember that time. But not enough. I'd say a minimum for has got to be 5 years. I said, my man, like I said, who played for the Bears, who I just Gale Sayers, like 5-7 years, you know. You got to give me that if we're gonna go in that direction.
What's the name? He just made it, and I agree with it. Patrick Willis. He was dominant for like the 7 years he played.
Yeah,
he was absolutely dominant inside. Luke Kuechly's another one. He was absolutely dominant in a short time. And then we gotta be honest about it. We can't look at the average career span of guys and know that hey, it's NFL not for long, and then see a guy play great 7 years. Like, well, I need more. I need 12. Everybody can't be Jerry Rice. Everybody can't be Randy Moss, Terrell Owens.
Exactly.
You gotta
I got to just be able to go back to an era, and again, it's got to think here: were you amongst the best, if not the best, in the game for that period of time? If so,
well,
then
that's when I see a player who made their respective all-decade team. That means you was considered one of the best players in a 10-year span. So when I see like Dante, who's the receiver, the Cowboys receiver that for whatever reason he was left alone off the 70s decade team.
You're talking about
Drew Pearson. Drew Pearson. Yeah, so and like he made the 1970s all-decade team, but it took him forever to get the nod, and he was the only member from that team who was not in the Hall of Fame. Thankfully, he finally got in before he, passed away or whatnot. But
I hate when guys get it and they're not here to enjoy it. I hate those because it's like you could have got him in there before then.
We made that whole thing about the Pete Rose thing. Soon after he passed away, they basically,
Nah, Chad, no, I love Chad, but as many great receivers were in his era, he just didn't have a long enough record. But he was he's an all-time great Bengal, but not Hall of Fame.
If this was the NBA, because the NBA, they look at everything.
Yeah.
And so if Michael Sam played in the NBA, he probably would have been Hall of Fame because his importance to the league, because he was the first of.
I'm not touching it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All right. Last topic of the night, gentlemen. So I think so certainly this recent NFL draft. You had this trend where I think it was Cincinnati who signed their, or hang on, it might have been Jacksonville. But you had an NFL team who signed their second rounder to a no, it's Houston Texans. So you guys are certainly talking. Yeah, signed their rookies to guarantee second round picks to guaranteed contracts. And currently you have 30 out of 32 teams, second round picks, who are still holding out and who haven't signed yet. So what do you guys make of this trend? Is this going to be a trend going forward? Did the apple cart get flipped with the signing of those two players? And what kind of repercussions do you think this is going to be for certainly for this upcoming season when you got a lot of your second rounders who are holding out?
Well, I just got Schefter just said that the 49ers first round pick Alfred Collins just signed. So it's like I don't know if that's the domino that's gonna fall and lead it coming down, but it that's one to look at as far as look at how his deal is structured, because I was still trying to read through it, but however his deal is structured, that's kind of where things may fall, because players are going to want to get into camp. The biggest one is the Saints, because that's a quarterback, and then he's probably going to be their starter. So you want him in the camp with the playbook. So it's like I appreciate the agents and the players playing a little hardball, because it's pennies to the owners.
Yeah,
but it's a lot to the players to get that guarantee, because you don't have the same windfall that you got to be in a first rounder if you're not successful. Or you're not going to get the same amount of opportunities if in 2 years you didn't work out, because you have a 4-year deal. So halfway through, they may look to cut you or trade you. So
yeah, I think I remember.
Move closer to your microphone when you speak, because you seem sort of low when you sit back.
You heard about that?
Bring that up a little bit. Yeah. Go ahead, Shawnee.
I believe I forgot what player it was in the past. They had on their rookie deal, they was going back and forth between their respective team due to certain language in the contract, these rookie contracts. And I know at that time that was a huge reason why they were delaying signing the contract and whatnot. And now with these current second round players who basically will be starters on their respective team that they drafted them, majority of them will be starters. Maybe some of them, only one I could think of, maybe a quarterback position, because he may be in waiting, but many times you drafted with the top 3 rounds, you got a good chance of starting your respective team. And so why are there players holding out on their contracts? Main thing I'm going to, I'm just thinking of the language. I wouldn't be surprised if you from the old school of thinking, they like, well, you didn't even you haven't even did anything in the NFL yet for you to sit here and holding out on a contract. Mm-hmm. You need every rep you can muster. Because I'm imagining these dudes, the second round picks who didn't sign yet, they have not gone through no volunteer camps, no rookie camps. They probably won't even. Who knows when they sign? Who knows what time they'll come in before training camp?
Right.
So that's definitely. I wouldn't be surprised. Like a Mad Dog Russo, he's like, man, why y'all not signing you a rookie? But again, I understand why, especially in today's time, and everything. It seems like everything is revolving around the money, and players and their agents are more keen now to how contracts are written out. So they're not just going to sign anything. So I don't know the exact reason why it's just so much of them are not signing their contracts, but it'll be interesting to see if this is just a thing now, because the NFL already went down on these contract deals compared to the Sam Bradford deal back when he got drafted. Made so much money without even touching the NFL's field. But, so they went down on that, capped all of that, and still they're having the issue of players just not signing their respective rookie deals. So it's more stuff more wrinkles they got to iron out.
Mm-hmm. I'm all for it. What are we talking about? They got enough money to pass around. Everybody should, if you drafted first 2 or 3 rounds, you should get guaranteed money. guaranteed money. Because if I'm gonna start, yeah, I can see it. It's a new mind of football too. I appreciate these young guys going and getting ahead of their life, and because you can get injured. But yeah, they're gonna have to prove it if they sign for it. And football on a professional level is hit and miss for some players.
Mm-hmm.
I look at Shador. He got blackballed, but he could potentially be the starter. You know what I'm saying? And 4 years from now, 3 years from now, he can get a big payday that he should have got. I look at Shador and Lamar Jackson in similar fashion. They said Lamar wasn't even good enough. He wanted him to be a receiver, and now he's definitely a top 5 quarterback. But Shador, he has to prove himself the old school way. And I can see players like him in his position, especially in the top 3, if they're not giving you guaranteed money and you get injured, then your life is pretty much, back to, whatever level of college you participated in. But yeah, I ain't mad at them. Everybody need to get their money. For sure, they're giving weak quarterbacks hundreds of millions of dollars. And we'll talk about how weak they are for 5-6 years of their career.
Yeah.
Some of those guys shouldn't even be in the league, but hey, they get that money. What's that? Miami's quarterback shouldn't even be in the league, but he's getting his money. Why not second round? Yeah, third round. Second round, I'll see you. Because you showed up at the draft. They told you get drafted. $8 million guaranteed. Come on, play.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I think a lot of it has to deal with the way things are now. If you know you're going to be a starter, you want to be treated like one. And I think a lot of these teams we've seen in recent years, they won't necessarily – the guy's a first-round talent, but to save a few $1 million from a first round versus a second round, I think that's a strategy, especially for teams that are drafting their guys a little bit later. You would rather take that player who's first round rated in the second round as a money saver. But I think a lot of these players are starting to push back on that and says, no, if you know I'm coming to your squad and you know I'm coming in to be a starter, I want to be treated like one. And so they may not be able to get the bag like the first round it gets, because a lot of that stuff is almost like, kind of baked in. But I think they're certainly waiting to get their, their cut. They're not going to be riding the bench for a while. And I've seen this even with third and even fourth round players now who will come in and they just plug and play right away. I know the Steelers last year, they needed a center. But they drafted the center in the second round, even though it was an immediate need that they had on the team. And you had a lot of centers who came out last year, yet they still opted and waited for that player to drop to the second round. Because I think there was like 4 or 5 centers who were first round rated, and they weren't willing to put that money in. So I think, certainly I think with a lot of the agents now, I think they're changing strategy now to kind of, catch up to what the NFL is doing when it comes to, how they're using that, trying to get around that first round signings in order to get these guys who are starter capable and more likely going to be coming in as starters from the rip. So I think that's where I think a lot of that's coming from. And again, with these dominoes that just fell, I think you're certainly going to have a few more players who may play a similar role. So it's like certainly from more from the bottom up, you're going to see more of these guys who are going to be slated. But we're coming towards the end of the show. I do want to go back and we can kind of do this as sort of a final thoughts kind of thing, just sort of a yay or nay. So again, you talk about me hating on Eli Manning. It seems like BMU is hating on Chris Carter, saying he doesn't think that Chris Carter is a Hall of Famer. Again, 8-time Pro Bowl. He wasn't an All-Pro, but again, 8-time Pro Bowler. I would say yes. I'm going to take out the first 5 years. We all knew, he had all those chemical issues when he came into the league in Philly. And so it took him a minute to kind of get his act together. But once he got his act together in Minnesota, he was as good as it gets, multiple seasons, over 100 back-to-back, 122 catches, so 1,100 receptions. So I would certainly say, he's up there, like I said, that. Yeah. All the more so an all-decade team. So again, I would definitely put him in that in there that yes, he is a deserving for Hall of Famer. And to I understand, I don't think he got in on first ballot, if I understand.
No,
So again,
I don't believe he did. And he was like he said, he was a possession receiver. And like I want to say Asante Samuel was talking about him. And that's his bit now. He's just gonna talk about people, but he was getting a lot of flack for it. He was like, yeah, I was a possession receiver, but I got in the end zone, 130 touchdowns. So I got the 1,100 catches, but also got in the zone. And so it's just like sometimes we got to look at, if we're going to be honest about it, we do have to skew some people's numbers for like, hey, you played in the pass happy era. That's why sometimes when people get on the Randy Moss, the greatest receiver, versus the Jerry Rice thing, I'd be like, hey, pump your brakes. He was still in a run heavy era and put up numbers like he played in this era. So he was ahead of his time. So it's just like, I think people got to, kind of park their brakes sometimes. It's like, but Randy, especially for people in my generation, he was the guy. He was the guy. He was so dominant and so unique. But we gotta stop disrespecting some of the greats sometimes, looking at them just to big up another guy. I don't think you have to down another great to put somebody else up.
The number that Jerry Rice has, man, I can't fathom how a receiver during the era that Dante just mentioned. It's not today's era where a receiver who's not on the caliber on Jerry Rice, they may ultimately finish with more yards receiving when their career is done than Rice. Maybe. I don't even think, maybe not. But as a receiver, to lead the NFL in touchdowns during an era where it was by far a running era, I'm like, man, that is a number. And he has some other numbers that I thought at the time was not breakable, but they have since, some of them been broken. But he has so much receiving records, man. As great as Randy Moss was as a receiver, the stuff that Jerry Rice could accomplish during the time that it was just running back, man. Run. I know he played on the West Coast style offense that was new with him in Montana and then ultimately Young, but the numbers that he was able to post, man, that's some amazing stuff as a receiver.
I got you. Coach, what are your thoughts on that? Chris Carter, Hall of Famer, deserving? Yes or no?
Yeah. I think, again, it was some good football being played, man, 15, 20 years ago. Some great football. Yeah. Very competitive, and a little bit more physical, and he didn't really, his team didn't really do too much in the playoff as far as, getting too deep in the playoffs, championship, but I think Randy Moss sort of helped him out a little bit for a few years when Randy Moss was over, but his decade, is he on his decade team?
Yeah, all decade team. So I would definitely give it to him. Now, Chad, Chad, getting back to Chad Johnson, I don't think he was on an all decade team. I don't think. That. But then again, but here's the slippery slope that we get on. Now, if you want to talk about is Chad Johnson deserving, look at the stats of Wes Welker. Now he's got a couple thousand less receiving yards, but he's got a couple hundred more receptions. 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. Chad Johnson, 6-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. So if you want to make a place for Chad, then do we want to start making the case for Wes Welker? That's what I'm saying. I got to be able to look at a guy, forget the stats. I got to be able to look at the player, and say for a time he was amongst the best in the game. I want to put that to Welker. I'm not sure if I can do that with Johnson. I don't know if he comes to mind top 3 at any time, but certainly he was a very good player for his time. And who knows, maybe one day he may get in. But again, if he gets in, then again, you're going to open up a can of worms from some other guys who may not be deserving in there. But again, we're coming to the end of the show. Certainly, I want to keep this under. We got 45 seconds left. So I'm taking us out. And again, so I'm going to be on the road. I'm going to be on the road for the next 3 weeks. But as much as I can, I'll be up to host the show. But certainly for myself, for Shawnee, Dante, for the coach, thank you for joining us once again on the One-on-One Sports Show. You guys take care. God bless. And we'll see you next time. Good night.